The other day I went over to my in-laws' house and my 5-year-old was outside playing. I was inside, but I thought that I had covered all my bases, making sure everything was taken care of so she couldn't get into anything while I was in the house. When I was done with what I was doing there, we came outside and all went to get into the car, my children and I discovered that I had not locked the car door. The first thing I noticed was that my purse was no longer in the passenger's side seat. Instead, it was lying on the ground with my wallet out of it and all the cards out of the wallet. No big deal. Took the cards, put them back in, took the coins, zipped them back up. And then I found my stamps sheet and it was empty. And I started looking around the car and all of the stamps from an entire book of stamps plus about half of one from Christmas were stuck all over the inside of my car. Yeah. While I carefully unpeeled every single stamp from anywhere that I could find and tried to stick it back on the shiny paper, some of it worked really well and some of them didn't work very well at all, I was mad. Parker, my 5-year-old, she knew better than to climb into our car. She knew better than to get into my purse. Both of those things are things that we have had happen before and have talked to her about, and as I was doing it, I was so mad that I kept thinking, what in the world had possessed her to do this? Now, of course, she's 5, and so she's going to do things like this. Her impulse control is not developed, and I was able to calm down and realize that. But I did talk with her about it afterwards. When I asked her about it, she was contrite, and she said, I just thought Riley, that's her younger sister, I just thought Riley would love all of the pretty stickers in the car. Yes, she had broken the rules that she knew about, but she had what in her mind was a really good reason and an altruistic reason. She was trying to serve her younger sister and make her younger sister happy. And to her, that was a really good reason for breaking the rules. Sometimes the reason behind something is just not very obvious right away to us, but it's also really important for us to dig deeper and find the real reason. And this applies to everything from parenting to writing a novel. Today, I am going to talk about each beat in the Save the Cat Writes a Novel and just talk about the why or kind of the purpose behind each beat in regards to the character arc, because your character arc and your plot are tied together in a way that you shouldn't separate them or it will make your book not as good. I'm not going to go into what each beat is, but I will link a video that I already have talking about each beat down below, as well as some of my other Save the Cat breakdown videos. So Save the Cat breaks its beats into the 3-act structure. So the first act has a couple different purposes, and one of the first ones is to make us care about the character. And the other one is to make us see that they need a change. If there is no need for a change, if there is nothing bad happening, then there's no story. And so that is the setup is really important for your character arc in Act 1. The first beat is the opening image. And this is the first beat the first scene where we see the character. So it's really important here to introduce the character and at least hint at their flaw if you can't show it super deeply quite yet. But it's really important that the flaw and your character be introduced here in the very first opening image scene. And then you have the setup, and this is just delving deeper. And so this is where you're really going to pound in for your reader what your main character's flaw is. You really want to pound it in as much as possible and show that they are truly miserable in their life and that their flaw is ruining their life. In the setup is the theme stated, and the purpose behind this beat is actually foreshadowing for your character's eventual change. We know when the side character tells the main character that this is what they need to do to solve their problems, that the main character is not going to do it yet because they're not at a place where they're able to recognize that that's even a problem most of the time, much less act on it. But it is a way for you to say to the reader, this is what's going to happen at the end of the book. It's really good, kind of subtle foreshadowing. The purpose of the catalyst is fairly obvious, and that is to force your reader to get out of their comfort zone, right? They're in their comfort zone, and even though they're miserable, they'd rather be miserable than change because that's how human nature is. And so the catalyst is the big event that makes them change. And so the purpose behind it is literally to force them out of their comfort zone into a place where they will be able to start on their journey of eventual change. The purpose behind the debate scene is actually just to show that, like all humans, our character doesn't want to change, and they have to take a moment to process all of the big things that are happening in their life. Okay, then you move into Act 2. So the purpose of Act 2, the main purpose, is to show your main character grappling with their theme, whatever their character arc is about, while trying to solve their problems externally, and that's their want. So they're grappling with their need while they're chasing their want, until they ultimately reject their theme and have terrible consequences and hit rock bottom, and then realize that they actually need to accept the character arc change and actually change internally. So that's the main purpose of the second act. It's huge, so it has quite a big purpose. So going into the individual beats, the purpose of Break Into Two is to just show that your main character is proactively moving forward. And usually this is moving forward towards their want rather than their need. They are pushed out of their old world, pushed out of their comfort zone, but they still haven't quite, they still haven't accepted that they need to change internally. And that's what, their Act 2 world is going to do, is show them that. But they are proactively moving towards something that they think will fix their problem or their want. And then your B story beat actually has a really important purpose, introducing the characters that will ultimately be the people who help your main character change, whether that is a friend, a mentor, an antagonist, whatever it is. These are all the people who are going to basically help your main character along on their journey towards their eventual internal change. The fun and games section, the point of this, or the purpose of this in regards to your character arc, is to give your character time to really grapple with their need and to be introduced to the idea that the opposite of their lie is true. So in Act 1, your character believes a lie, and that's their flaw. And in the beginning of Act 2, they start getting introduced to the idea of the truth. Through their B-story characters, through the world that they're experiencing, and just some of the different things that they experience, they start to actually question, is this lie actually something that I should hold on to? And your character needs time to be able to grapple with this in order for the change to feel authentic and realistic and reasonable. It's also a chance for your main character to be actively pursuing their want more. So, they break into two and they begin to pursue their want, and then fun and games, they're really actively pursuing their want. And their want is really important for their character arc, because that is where the tension comes in, is that the want and the need kind of rubbing against each other. Moving on to the midpoint. The purpose of the midpoint is really that it's a setup for the all is lost. Without the midpoint, the all is lost would never happen, because the midpoint is where the stakes are raised and your story pivots from just your character kind of being in this world to their flaw really closing in on them. Bad guy, during bad guys close in the next beat, the lie that they believe is really closing in on them as the tension is rising until it breaks at the all is lost. And so the midpoint is what starts all of that. It's kind of like the middle of the book catalyst. Okay, so then the point of the bad guys close in is to really show that tension escalating as your character is starting to realize more and more that they need to accept the truth, but they can't quite accept it yet. And they can't quite overcome their flaw yet, and so the tension really builds up there. The other purpose of the Dark Night of the Soul is also to give your character the chance to actually choose the right choice, because if they have the chance to make the right choice and make the right change, and then the all is lost is going to be all that more powerful, because it will really drive home the fact that the all is lost is their fault. They had the chance. They could have done differently, and they didn't. So then, of course, the all is lost seems pretty obvious that the purpose is to show that they messed up. They didn't make the internal change. This is to really drive home to the character, you need to change. Look how awful it is. You're worse off now than at the beginning of the book, and you've hit rock bottom because you wouldn't change. Then the Dark Night of the Soul, the final beat in Act 2, It has two purposes, and the first purpose during their wallow phase is to let the main character feel really bad about what happened and to accept that it was their fault, to really just revel in the all is lost, and then have their kind of reversal during their epiphany where they realize that what they really need is an internal change. And that brings us to Act 3. And Act 3, the purpose of Act 3 is to prove to your reader and your character and just everyone involved that your main character actually has changed. It's not just something they're saying, they're now going to put their money where their mouth is. The purpose behind Break Into 3 is to show that your character acting on their epiphany and to realize what they need to do externally to kind of fix all the problems that their internal flaw has caused. Then you have the finale, which is where the character proves with their actions that they have actually changed. And that breaks down into 5 points. You have the gather the team. And the purpose behind this, one of the main purposes, is actually to give the character a chance to make amends where amends are needed. They've usually messed up somewhere and need to fix those problems, apologize, reach out again to someone, and gather their people around them so that they're able to go storm the castle, which is the second one. And that storm the castle is where they have their plan in Break Into 3, where they're like, I know what I need to do now to solve all of these huge problems that have happened. And storm the castle is where they enact their plan for that. And so the purpose behind this is just to show your character actively doing what they know that they should do in terms of their character arc. And then we have the Hightower surprise, and this is the twist that is really hard for your character. This is the twist that comes and it goes, you say you've changed, have you actually changed? Here's a challenge that will prove if you've actually changed or not. And so then the next one, Dig Down Deep. The purpose behind Dig Down Deep is to show the character have kind of their grapple of, have I changed? This is a really hard choice, and ultimately come to the decision that yes, I have changed, I'm going to make the right choice. And then of course, execute the new plan is them acting on that, which is the purpose behind that is to show them through their actions, putting their money where their mouth is. They're saying, okay, I actually have changed. I know what the right thing to do is. Now I'm going to do it. And through those 5 things, then as the reader, we come away from it understanding that they really have changed because they have showed us with their actions that they now will do the thing that they wouldn't have done at the beginning of the book. And then you have the final image, and the purpose of this is simply to show how good their life is now that they have changed. It's a really powerful moment if you have done your job right, showing how bad of a place they came from at the beginning versus where they are now at the end. So that's my breakdown of what each beat does for your character arc throughout your story. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe for lots of reading and writing content. If you want to follow my reading journey, you can go follow me on Goodreads. I do share a review of every book I read there. I'm also fairly active on Instagram, and you can go check that out as well. I'll put it all in the description box below. And thank you so much for watching my video. I will see you in the next one.